Hello collectors, 1-6. Today we bring to the channel a figure from a horror comedy classic, Shaun of the Dead.
Con la red que te va a fascinar. Kabuto Toys, un viaje sin final. Está la U6 con un brillo genial. Giros y villanos en un mundo inmortal. Kabuto Toys, la magia del detalle.
Shaun of the Dead is a hilarious mix of comedy and horror that follows the adventures of Shaun, played by Simon Pegg, who seeks to win back his girlfriend while facing a zombie apocalypse. Alongside him, the charismatic Nick Frost plays his faithful friend Ed, providing countless comedic moments. Edgar Wright's direction stands out not only for its wit and pace, but also for how he manages to make us laugh and worry at the same time. A must-see film that redefines the genre. This is an unlicensed edition from the Chinese brand Yantoys. It comes in a beautiful box reminiscent of the movie, with zombie horde hands all over the box and a small shadow of Shaun character in the corner. Inside, on 2 different levels, the figure and its accessories. And we begin to analyze the huge amount of accessories that this edition offers us. A collection of vinyl records that the protagonists used as a throwing weapon against zombies. It's a very nice and well-crafted detail that we have not only the covers but also the disc inside. Very 80s inspired records, like the Batman soundtrack or the singer Sade. But don't ask for pears from an elm tree. The discs are made of hard cardboard, not plastic. A very attractive bouquet of flowers made of plastic. A pint of beer, the typical stuffed accessory that can be used for this figure as well as any other. A very simple glass. The protagonist's mug with the inscription "I'm a genius," and that appeared in the movie. Nice detail. The cornetto that gives its name to the trilogy of films starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. A very nicely detailed wristwatch with a fabric strap. Shaun's work ID badge with a magnetic clip to attach to the figure's shirt. A can of Coke. A cricket paddle made of wood and with magnificent detail, even down to the notches in the wood. These are the forearms offered in this edition for the zombie version of Shaun. These forearms are pinless for a more realistic look. Unfortunately, the hands have no articulation whatsoever, they're completely rigid. They have a nice paint job. The rest of the interchangeable hands are typical of this type of body. The character's jacket. Very necessary if you want to hide the figure's hideous pins, which we'll see later. I don't like that the zipper isn't functional, at least on this figure it can't be closed. A base with the colours and typography of the film. And finally, a PlayStation controller, which features in one of the film's most hilarious moments. And here we have the figure. The first thing that catches our eye is the hideous body they've slapped on this edition. It's a very cheap base body with the connecting pins horribly visible. The articulation is very simple without any great fuss. The body has a little padding to give the character more volume, both in the belly and the butt. The workmanship of the garment isn't bad, it even has the ink stain detail on the pocket. The tie is excessively stiff and very difficult to position for posing. And now we move on to the sculpts. This edition offers us 2 different heads. This first one is for the zombie version of the character. Perhaps, in my opinion, it's the weaker of the 2. The paint job is quite limited. It's true that it's a fake zombie because the character imitated them, not transformed into one. Hence, it can't be shown off in wilder paint effects, which we'll see next week in the video dedicated to the Nick Frost figure. This head is a different story. The actor Simon Pegg is very recognisable, and the paint job is very good, making it look much better in person than on screen. Perhaps my weakest point is the hair sculpt, but it's a very, very decent head. Three stars for this Yantoys Friends figure. A real shame because it could have gotten a few more stars if they hadn't given us such a cheap and hideous body that devalues an otherwise very good figure. It excels in accessories and in that head, which is very faithful to the character. For a cheap third-party figure, it's highly recommended. With a body swap, the figure really adds value. I highly recommend this purchase for horror movie fans. I only knew of a licensed Sideshow edition, which has become very dated and which I find far inferior to this one. And that's the end of it. Thanks for reading this far, and remember that you'll help us a lot if you subscribe, like, or share this video. It's free and doesn't require much effort. You can also follow us on our social media channels, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook. Friends of Collecting 16, health and luck.